No, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I tried. Hi, everyone. Good to see some folks today. I know a lot of people are at the wildfire crisis strategy workshop, but I'm happy to see some folks. I wasn't sure. I thought, wow, the timing of this was probably not the best, but because of Thanksgiving, we had to reschedule because our call would have fell on that weekend. So it's good to see everyone. We'll start with some introductions and maybe some other folks will hop on. But my name is Ann Matek, and I am the director of the Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership here in Arizona, Flagstaff up in the northern Arizona, mostly ponderosa pine forests up here. And starting to get a little cooler for sure in November. But it's good to see everyone, and I'll just call you out. And if you can introduce yourself and your organization where you're at, that would be great. So we'll go ahead and start with Allie.
Sure. Hi there. My name is Allie Hammond. I am the Director of Community Wildfire Resilience with Aspen Fire Protection District. Was that the questions? Did I answer them?
Yes. Where
Great.
are you at? Where are you at, Allie?
I am in Aspen.
Oh, you're in Aspen, Colorado.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Nice to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And David. There he is. Hi, Dave.
Hi, I'm David. Hi, nice to see everyone. I'm David Birchfield with the Fire Adapted Communities Learning Network. I am based both in Denver, Colorado, and Salt Lake City, and glad to be here.
Thanks, David. And Ramon.
Hi, all. Ramon Alatorre with the Four Corners Carbon Coalition. I am based out of the Flagstaff area, and it's actually the first time I've actually been able to join the wood utilization group. So thanks for the invitation, Anne. And we have an exciting sort of announcement campaign. I won't detail it here because that's too much oxygen, but I'll send it to you, Anne, and maybe you'd be able to help me disseminate it to this group.
Oh, that would be great. And we are this meeting today, Ramon, is more of like a open catch-up call talking about what's happening in your wood utilization. I call it orbit out there in space. And so if you want to talk about it a little bit today, that would be great.
Sounds good. I'll be happy to do so when we get to that part of the agenda.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ramon. And Archie.
Archie Gray, Idaho Department of Lands. First time I've been able to attend in a while, so hoping to catch up a little.
Good to have you. Great. And what city are you in, Archie?
I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for joining. And Katie.
Good morning, Katie Harrell here with the Joint Institute for Wood Products Innovation with the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection in California.
Nice to have you, Katie.
Thanks, nice to be here.
And Henry. You there, Henry? If not, we'll come back to you.
He put a message in chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I didn't look at those yet, so I appreciate that. There he goes. Okay, I see he's having some technical difficulties, but he is with Fire Adapted Montana Learning Network. Great. And Kaya. Hopefully I said that right.
Kayla.
Kayla. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was an I. My apologies.
That's okay. I'm Kayla Montrose, and I'm with the Colorado State Forest Service, based in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I was actually invited to this by our internal wood utilization manager. And so I won't be providing an update. I was just kind of going to sit in and learn more about this meeting as I manage some of our grant programs that require wood utilization components.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much for joining. And Jessica.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Santa Cruz with Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization on the Big Island of Hawaii. And so also just kind of here to sit in and see what's new. Thanks.
Nice to have you, Jessica. And Elliot.
Good morning. My name is Elliot Hurwitz. I'm with the Siegler Springs Community Redevelopment Association. We're kind of a hyper-local fire resilience organization about 2.5 hours north of San Francisco, and just struggling as everyone is to figure out what do we do with all the wood that we're having to deal with as we kind of bring our forests back.
Great. Thanks so much, Elliot. And yeah. Henry. Did I get you, Henry? I can't remember now. Oh, that's right. He was the one who had the technical difficulties, I believe. Jaden.
Hello, all. Jade Peterson. I'm a forest ecologist with SWCA and consultants based in Nevada. Happy to be here.
Great. Nice to have you. And Karina.
Hi, everyone. Apologize. I'm having some internet difficulties, but my name is Karina Marshall, and I coordinate the Northern Colorado Fireshed Collaborative up in the Front Range of Colorado.
Great. Did I get everybody? Anybody I forgot or missed? Well, wonderful. And for some of you that are new, Rebecca Smolsky usually she's a co-facilitator of this group, and I think she's at the Wildfire Crisis Strategy Workshop. So she's not here today. And many times we have presentations and discussions on some of the new work that folks are doing. But today we're doing more of a sort of we call it a peer assist and updates and news from members. And basically, what we're looking for is, is there something exciting that's happening out there in your wood utilization world? Or if there's assistance that you might need or advice from other members that you could, that you'd like to get today. And also even just some news, or if there's some upcoming conferences, some highlights, some funding opportunities to share, that would be great too. So it's sort of, we try to do this every once in a while instead of a presentation, just so everybody can talk to each other about some of the new exciting things that are happening in your areas. I know Ramon and I are on the Flagstaff Biomass Coalition. So this is a smaller group in Flagstaff. It's a working group under the Greater Flagstaff Forest Partnership that's really trying to work on biomass issues here in Flagstaff. And we are really trying to work with industry, potential industries that could come into northern Arizona and really utilize the biomass that's coming off the forest, because we find that there's a bottleneck, biomass bottleneck. We can get, some of the logs and timber off the forest, but the biomass is really the bottleneck and the problem, because our contractors don't know how to deal with it because it's just a loss for them. And so our coalition is trying to work with politicians and leaders and other some of the actual contractors that do the work to assist them in being successful. And I'm going to start with, just as an example, we have let's see, it's called Ramon, help me, I'm blanking out on their name. Sustainable, no, SD. Oh, why am I blanking out all of a sudden? Natural. They're making the natural gas from renewable natural gas. San Joaquin Renewables.
Yeah,
that's it. And they're looking to potentially start industry here up in northern Arizona. And I think that's pretty exciting. We'll see if it does happen, but they're seriously looking at doing this. So, and I know with our coalition, there's a lot more going on than just that. We have a lot of other smaller businesses that are looking into also processing the biomass into energy. And so we will definitely keep you all updated if some of those come to fruition. But the San Joaquin Renewables is very, I think, really promising. They would use an incredible amount of biomass to produce the natural gas, and then connect into the existing natural gas lines that run across the country. So this is a group, like I said, it's more localized, but it's really helping, I think, the trajectory of what's happening, at least here in northern Arizona. And Ramon, I'll let you sort of talk about your news coming from your organization.
sounds good. Looks like I might have screen share. Is it all right if I just kind of throw up a title slide?
Absolutely.
Great. Can you confirm if you're able to see it?
Yep, can see it.
Sounds good. So hi, everyone. Ramon Alatorre. I am the director of the Four Corners Carbon Coalition. And I guess a touch of history. About a year ago, our organization sort of emerged, And it was a coalition of 4 communities: Flagstaff, Arizona; Boulder County; Salt Lake City. So David, I know you mentioned Salt Lake City, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. And essentially it's a coalition of cities that wanted to sort of turn the page and start a fresh conversation around just carbon removal and it being a necessary component of climate action. Certainly reductions, absolutely necessary. Can't stop thinking about those. But if we bring carbon removal as a part of the conversation, potentially that is like a way to help support forest restoration efforts and things of that nature that, as Ann said, are getting bottlenecked. But we put out requests for proposals last year, and we ended up awarding $389,000 in catalytic grant funding to 4 projects that were all based around the intersection of carbon removal and concrete. And I've been working for the past year to kind of figure out what our next campaign is going to be about. And last Friday, we sort of announced our intentions. We had an event on Friday, and I can provide you the email that sort of provides all of the links and also including a link to a recording. But we've expanded our coalition. In addition to those initial 4 communities, we have Albuquerque and Bernalillo County in New Mexico that are joining the coalition. And we are asking for projects that are at that intersection of carbon removal and liability biomass, which I think you all are familiar with, the idea of these residual forest residues that are making all of our communities more vulnerable, sort of bottlenecking and stopping the pace and scale of forest restoration as we need. But we're expecting to have a similar pot of money. We will be formalizing requests for proposals probably early in 2024. Right now, we're in a period that we're calling sort of this opportunity notice and request for comments and information. We have a Google form where if you're thinking about submitting a proposal, we're asking people to fill it out and tell us a little bit about what it is that you're thinking about. What is like the minimum amount of grant funding that you think would be catalytic? And that's sort of like one of the key words where we know projects are having a hard time getting off the ground. And so if there's, is it $20,000 is what is necessary to be able to kind of take your project from being stuck in stasis to being able to go, then we would love to be able to, consider that. And we also know that some of these projects, it's not necessarily funding that is slowing them down, but there are other sort of factors at play that are making it difficult to move forward with projects. I won't go through hardly any of my deck, but in the carbon removal space, some of the things that we are interested in and our communities are sort of interested in, certainly wood utilization, carbon removal, or taking care of those residual forest residues, and being able to have them in durable building products. We know that biochar is sort of an emerging thing, and a lot of people are interested in making it, but what can you do with it? Biomass burial is something that we're interested in, but I think this is my slide here. There's just a lot of things happening sort of in this biker space, so the biomass carbon removal and sequestration, and we're excited to see all of the proposals that come in. And as I mentioned, we distributed about $389,000 in catalytic grants last year for the concrete campaign, and we think that pot is probably actually going to grow a little bit this year. So come early 2024, we're going to kind of cement everything, if you will. Right now, we're in that sort of pre-proposal period where we're wanting to just engage and learn, and we're hoping to go from 90% to 100% sort of formed when we make our official ask. So that's all I'll say. And I can, like I said, forward you the email that I crafted for all of the attendees who attended the event live. And if you would be interested in forwarding to anyone, and I would be more than happy to meet offline and have just individual conversations with anybody, especially in the 4 corner states. Doesn't necessarily have to be in one of the cities that are participating. In that concrete proposal, we actually supported a project that was in Durango, Colorado, and Durango isn't actually one of the communities that was participating. So we're just interested to get sort of some of this activity moving and catalyzed in the region.
That's really exciting, Ramon. And maybe too, what we could do is schedule you to come in and talk a little bit more about it, you know, into 2024. And as you do that initial scoping, what you're coming up with, and also hitting more of our members as well. But we'll definitely send that out to the group. And does anybody have any questions or comments for Ramon? Okay.
I'm definitely interested to learn more. That's a comment, not a question. But yeah, definitely interested to hear more.
Yeah, I'd love to connect offline, can tell you more. Certainly Boulder County in Colorado, they're one of our sort of flagship cities that are really anchoring this coalition. And like I said, we had projects that happened outside of, in Colorado, but not necessarily in Boulder. So there's, sort of these interesting sort of on the edge sort of efforts that are happening in Aspen or the areas that you are working in. I think we'd be interested in talking.
So Ramona, I mean, I'm thinking, just because I'm trying to get my head around this, is that this funding is for, say, innovative projects to consume biomass, basically, within the Four Corners region.
Yeah, essentially, recognizing, innovative projects. We know there are some projects that are kind of like sitting on the sideline and just aren't happening yet. So we're hoping that with either a little bit of grant funding or potentially helping in some of the like matchmaking space. I've already been having quite a few really interesting conversations with potential proposers that are saying, what I need is a connection to somebody at the wastewater treatment plant. And so obviously I've got 6 cities in my pockets, right, that are saying that they're interested and willing to have conversations with potential proposers. So it's both sort of the like hard catalytic funding, as well as some of like those soft catalytic like boosts to help get projects sort of out of stasis, as I said.
Great. Any other comments or questions for Ramon? Okay, well, we'll send more information, and I'd love to, maybe have you come in and keep us up to date with that.
Yeah, and put me on the calendar for GFFP too.
Will do. So, other news or any other items that folks wanted to share with the group? What's happening in your area, or something around the country, or funding?
Let me just jump in here, just kind of get a sense of, this is the first time I've participated in here. I'm interested to learn more about it, particularly interested in models for, we're a small rural community with a lot of forest land and, basically working, all the dimensions of that issue, but particularly looking for economic models, pro formas at at the kind of scale that we would be working with. I mean, we're a small region with a small population, but a 700,000 acres of forest land, and population of 65,000 people. And so I know one of the challenges we have is just balancing the economics of moving the mass around to get to a point where you actually have either connection to, I mean, you talked about connection to the gas grids. I mean, even for us, even to tie into the electric grids is challenging. So we're looking at things like just very hyper local, composting. I know California is about to eliminate, basically mandate that food waste no longer go into the waste stream. So we're looking at ways in which we can combine local food waste collection with our forest biomass to create local compost process. But again, looking for economic models for that at the scale that we're interested in. So I don't know if that's something that is pertinent to this group, but I'd love to hear anything anyone has to say about that.
Hi, Elliot. I just wanted to respond to that because that's one of the, I don't know, I guess I would call it one of the only real options that we currently have in the Aspen area. As things currently stand, we don't really have any other industry, like just with our geographic remoteness. We don't have, a volume currently of timber to make, timber utilization worthwhile. So most of what we're doing is like the low value biomass. And our area, our county, I guess it's a nonprofit called Evergreen Zero Waste that does a compost collection, and then all of our local compostable materials can be brought to the dump where they will be industrially composted by the county. So when we do like chipping programs, for instance, that's where all of our woody biomass ends up, is at the landfill where it's composted, and then community members can go back and buy bags of compost, or also get wood chips. So if that's something of interest, feel free to reach out.
Sure, I will. I mean, we do have there is a county level landfill process for that, but it's again, that's we're looking to again, we're looking for hyper local solutions. At what point to kind of minimize the transportation issues, even for chipping and collection altogether. But yeah, I'd definitely like to learn more about Evergreen Zero Waste. It'd be interesting to hear about. Thanks.
Good thing.
I'll put my email in the chat here. Right.
Anybody else have comments for Elliot? Yeah, and something to think about too, Elliot, and when you're talking about economic models, I'm assuming that what you're trying to find out is whether, it will pencil out as far as either breaking even or being able to make a little bit.
Right.
And
Or to at what level of additional support would be required to make it sustainable, right?
Right, like yeah, like grants or subsidies or things
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't have experience with composting and that whole world. I don't know if anybody else does, but the other thing I was going to mention is a lot of times what you need to do with biomass is find multiple ways of using it, disposing of it. So, so that all your eggs aren't in one basket. So thinking about other ways besides composting, that could be one arm, right? To move the biomass out of there.
Right.
Anybody else have some suggestions for Elliot? And any other news or items that you want to talk about today? Gotta be something happening out there. Guys are quiet today. And then Elliot, are you on I saw your email. Did you get it? Are you on our list? Or-
My program director is a member of FACnet, and so
Okay.
we get kind of connected through that
Okay.
portal.
Okay, and I'll see if I can also add your email to our
Okay.
list as well. And if anybody else wants to be added, just go ahead and throw it into the chat. That would be great. I was trying to think of some other items. I haven't been at a Forest Biomass Coalition meeting, Ramon, in a couple months, because they just happened on days that I wasn't available. But was there anything that came up in the last couple of meetings that you'd want to share that maybe I may not be aware of because I missed the last two?
Sounds like you and I may have had the same
Oh.
absenteeism.
Okay. I know that here in Flagstaff too, Northern Arizona University is trying to do biomass, process biomass for energy on campus. And I haven't heard an update recently because, like you said, we both have been absent. But I do know that's something that is in the boiler, as we would say, with the university. And we're hoping to find other larger consumers of biomass, just as an example, maybe the hospital could be one of the consumers. So we have a large producer here, Gore, who potentially could as well. So what we're trying to do is reach out to these potential consumers of biomass and see if they're interested. And then if so, can we help them be successful in some way? Our Forest Biomass Coalition, and coalition's really made up of a lot of folks that have been in the forestry realm for years and years and years. It's led by Diane Vosick. If any of you know her, she is retired now, but used to be director of the Ecological Restoration Institute. And we have Dr. Hans Supan from ERI also on the coalition, and the list goes on and on. We also have a former county board of supervisors who has started a biomass, I think it's mulching, right? The one that Art Babbitt has started. So a mulching business on some property that he bought. So we're hoping that collectively, a lot of these individual efforts will collectively use a lot of the biomass coming off the forest. And like I said, San Joaquin Renewables, making basically natural gas out of biomass is very promising. They would be like the really big consumer if it happens. Of course, we're still waiting to see, because a lot of times you hear a lot of talk and it doesn't happen. But if they were to come here too, they talked about also using their trucks that would also burn. What is it called, Ramon? Is it hydrogen gas? Is it hydrogen? Yeah. Which would really be a win-win, especially on the carbon footprint of not, using regular gasoline for the trucking that would go to their plant. So almost sounds too good to be true, but they seem very serious, and hopefully we'll meet with them at the next Biomass Coalition meeting. Is there anything else I didn't talk about that we're doing, or some of the news coming from us?
Given my absenteeism, I can't fill in any other gaps.
Yeah, okay. And then I know that APS, which is our utilities company, had an RFP out for there's an abandoned Toya power plant in Joseph City, and I think they were trying to figure out what to do with that, and that we were hoping could be a potential site for a biomass processing facility. But again, I'm not sure really what happened with the request for proposal for that, or where we're at with that. But that's another sort of item that I know is on the table. What else, folks? Somebody's got to have some news or something they want to talk about, or an issue that they need assistance with.
Okay, I'll throw out something real quick. We're working with the State Department of Environmental Quality. They have some air quality grants, and we're looking at getting some air burner type systems for landowners to take thinning slash or residuals from forest treatments into centralized locations or maybe mobile units to help them dispose of that and in a way that's better for both air quality and hopefully produces some biochar. And so we're working with them, trying to see if there's a way to get something going there with all the federal funding becoming available. But we're very early on in these discussions, so not much to report there, just some ideas we're kicking around.
You're still muted, Anne.
You. Oops, thank you. I'm trying to take notes and do all these things at the same time, but I wanted to say that that's good information. And we had Dr. Paul, I think I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Oisier on from ERI last meeting, and they did some studies on biochar and the air curtain burner versus a char boss. And so we did record that meeting. So I can send you the recording if you like. And you can take a look at that. Maybe that will help you. And then if you feel like, wow, this is really interesting and good, and you're considering this, I could connect you with Paul.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. It's Archie. Yeah, it was a really good presentation. They did a demo project basically, and they burned the same material within both units, and trying to figure out the pros and cons of each. And so I could totally do that and send that to you, Archie. And if you can just throw your email in the chat just to make sure that I have it. I'm sure you're on our list, but it would be easier. That would be great. So also Ramon put in the chat for Elliot. It's an emerging project type that's happening in California. So that must be, oh, that's on the wood vaults. Okay. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, Ramon provided a link there. And then Archie got it. That's great, because I'll send that over, the link to the recording for you. Yeah, and I think, Ramon, maybe you want to just really quickly tell Elliot about that, because he may not be aware of wood vaults at all.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's just some of the themes I was hearing as you were talking, Elliot, was this idea of sort of rural, looking for local, maybe like sort of modular solutions, not necessarily wanting to truck things very far.
Right.
And so, in the sort of strange space that I occupy of carbon removal, those are some of the things also on the mind of a lot of sort of emerging companies that are potentially able to utilize like carbon removal marketplaces and otherwise to like make the projects pencil out, where it's like, well, let's take
Right.
biomass that doesn't have any value, but if we're able to sequester it in a way that we are able to provide sort of certainty to the markets that that carbon isn't going to end up back in the atmosphere. That could be interesting. So wood vaulting, like it's actually almost remarkably simple, where you just bury biomass in conditions where it won't decay, right? And there are a handful of companies that are starting to do it, but California is the place in the United States where sort of the most, I guess, momentum is happening for that. That company Kodama, I know they received like a $6 million sort of bit of grant funding in order to be able to do a project that's actually bordering California and Nevada. But the idea of being able to create these sort of engineered vaults is inherently modular. It doesn't have to be a massive vault. It doesn't need to be the size of a landfill. It can be the size of a football field or something like that. And there's a lot of opportunity for sort of pilot projects, and you might be able to get biomass off of the lands and like put them to like a use that certain markets and otherwise see as productive. So that
does that depend on carbon credits or things like that?
Yeah, so like the Puro Earth is, I think, the registry that has a protocol or a methodology where people are able to potentially get value out of it. It's pretty different than Vera and some of the other spaces that have been doing, the red crediting for reforestation. And I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming years in terms of, carbon markets, where some are about avoided emissions or like reforestation and things like that. And I think there's going to be other sort of marketplaces that are like pure play carbon removal things. And sort of the woody biomass burial is currently sitting in that other space where like it's also like you've got your pit that you can monitor, and it's pretty easy to tell. It's like a container sort of what's going on in there. So the sort of measurement and verification and things like that are a little less problematic, I suppose. Though certainly things still being learned. So it's just interesting that there are things happening in that sort of carbon removal space. Also, biochar was mentioned, torrefaction. There's a handful of other things that I think are inherently modular and might be good solutions for some of those like more rural places that obviously have a lot of biomass around.
Yeah, we've been playing with biochar. There's one of the local tribes has got a kind of biochar / cogen project that we're trying to work with. So it's really everything.
Of course.
Right. Thanks.
Hey, Ramon, with the vaults, does that have to happen on, like, is there an exchange with like private landowners, or like how does that kind of system work overall?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the things that we're learning, like in the methodologies, the markets do want to have certainty so that the project can't be undone. So there is a sense that the actual vault site probably needs to be done on a place where like a conservation easement for at least 100 years can be placed on it. So the private companies that are working on building these vaults, that's one of the pieces of the puzzle that they have to figure out is the siting, either finding private land or working with local governments or municipal entities that are able to sort of have this engineered site that some sort of easement is placed on it to be able to say for sure that we're not going to just like dig this up and put whatever else on that site instead. So that is a piece of it, certainly.
Gotcha. And you're saying that you're trying this or someone's trying this in like the Mojave, which if you want to have these things not decaying, and so I guess BLM would be the big player out there, and then would they be receptive to be having these kind of easements, do you think?
Seems like putting them on federal lands is pretty hard right now. I don't know that you can put easements on either national forest land or BLM land or things like that. You can certainly source the biomass from those places, but the actual vault sites, at least at this time, since it is sort of in that pilot stage, demonstration stage, scaling stage, most of the companies that are sort of moving forward with that effort are doing it either on private or municipal lands.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
again. I'm on mute again. We were gonna have, I think, Ramon, we haven't done it yet, right? Because you've done it at GFFP, but not here. Have you really do a presentation on the wood vaults? Am I right? I think coming up.
I'd be willing to, be happy to. And it doesn't even have to be just wood vaulting. I just dropped another link in there. It is from the Kodama website, but it actually is sort of like this map of sort of these emerging approaches of companies in the carbon removal space that are trying to take liability biomass and essentially stabilize it, and either again through chars, through torrefaction. There's probably, I don't know, 6 different pathways. You can put it in concrete, you can do all sorts of things, but people might be interested in sort of like looking at it and using that map to just like see, what is it that Carba is doing? What is it that Arbor is doing? What is it that Moat is doing? A Carbon Lockdown is another company that does some of that woody biomass burial. But it is sort of this, seems like this emerging space that like 3 years ago, maybe had like, I don't know, a dozen companies, and now there's like 100 that are trying to figure out how to make the financial case for it. And one of the things I just love about so many of their approaches is just how inherently modular they can be in order to scale to meet whatever's going on and to fit into the larger biomass picture. So, like as Anne was mentioning, perhaps there is something like these big white whale projects happening, whether it's something like APS, our local utility, and being able to sort of change the dials on one of their old coal plants and be able to figure out how to make it biomass, right? That could take care of a lot of the biomass issue in our area. While that's under development, there could be these other things that can either sort of grow or contract, sort of based on modularity, right? Just to be able to sort of fit into the larger biomass picture. But there's a lot of interesting things happening sort of in that space where the science that's been sort of in the lab for a while, a lot of people are trying to take it to pilot and demonstration scale these days.
That's great. Anybody else have questions, comments, news to share? So wanted to also make some announcements. We have for the 2024 calls, as a reminder, we meet every other month on the 4th Thursday of the month from 11 to 12 Mountain. And for the next meeting, I know we have the I think it's the Four Corners Coalition that Berg wants to, I think they're starting to jumpstart that again. And I know he's going to come in January and talk about that. And hopefully I'm thinking that he would like to include some of these folks on the wood utilization community of practice space in this reformation of this coalition. I don't know a whole heck of a lot more about it. He was going to present here in November, but because of the conference in Santa Fe, he couldn't attend. So I know that's going to happen in January. But also, if any of you know of anybody that you think would be willing to share some of the work that they're doing, or you think that it's a great project and the community practice should know about it, definitely please let Becca and I know about that, and we can see if we can get them scheduled. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have been using Podio as our communication platform, and starting at the end of the year, they're going to change to Mighty Networks, and I think it's a much friendlier, easier to use platform. And so I'm looking forward to it. Of course, we're going to have to learn something new, but that's okay. We will figure it out. But like I said, I think it's a little more, it's a little easier than to use and to figure out than Podio. At least when I first started Podio, I was like, oh my goodness, it didn't seem that easy to use. So I will send information on that, of course, as I get more information. This wood utilization community of practice is underneath the umbrella of the Fire Adapted Communities Learning Network. And so we tend to use the same networks that they use. So I'm looking forward to it because I think it's going to be easier to use and easier to communicate with all of you. And we will, more information, like I said, is coming for that. The other item that we're working on is we're developing a list of wood utilization resources, and that could be anywhere from reports and studies and fact sheets to like what Ramon was sharing, to websites and areas of interest. And so when we develop this list, we'll share it with everybody, and then we can keep building on it. And so I'm thinking that should be done towards the end of this year as well. And really the list is going to be really mining the old Podio space and everything that's been posted all these years on our community of practice. And it will be organized by category. So we'll have resources lists for biochar as an example, and a resources list for energy production, a resources list for, just say, for natural renewable natural gas as another example. So you can look forward to that as well. Does anybody have any questions or any other announcements they wanted to share? On the agenda, I have the dates for 2024 too, if you want to throw them on your calendar, or just do a recurring every other month, fourth Thursday of the month from 11 to 12 Mountain. The last item I want to share, and it's on the agenda, is that we are doing a needs assessment survey for this group. And it would be wonderful if all of you, I was going to end early today, so all of you could take the time to complete the survey. Even if you're really new to this group, it would be good to hear from you, to really figure out like, hey, you know, what would you like to learn, or what format would you like these to be in? Would you prefer, like, we have a question, would you prefer more presentation? Sorry, I'm doing this and talking at the same time, not so easy. Would you prefer hearing more presentations, or would you prefer more meetings like this where it's just a round robin and folks are talking with each other? And so what I'm going to do is I'm posting the link in the chat. So far we haven't received a ton of responses. So it'd be so awesome if if we end early and you all would take the time. I think it would take you about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and just tell us, really, what are you looking for through this wood COP, and how we can move forward in the future to really serve everybody through this community of practice. So I'm going to see if anybody else has any more comments or questions. If not, I'll end. And if you guys don't mind just hitting that link on the survey and taking 5 or 10 minutes to fill it out, that would be awesome. Really appreciate it, because right now we don't have a lot of responses. So it would be great if you could do that. Anybody else have anything to add? Okay.
Hey, I don't know if
Yes.
this could be a me problem. I just hit the link to the survey and it was hitting an error page. Oh, nope, it's working now. That was a me
Did it
problem.
work? Oh my
Yes.
good. No, thank you, because that would be terrible. Great. Okay, good. Link works. Good. Okay. Well, good. Well, if you guys don't mind just taking the survey, it will take you to when we were supposed to end. I'd appreciate it. And we'll be in touch for the January meeting, and with the new news on switching networks and things like that, our platform, you'll know what to do because I'll be sending emails out in that regard. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Enjoy taking the survey.
Thank you. And
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.